The sky above New York turned dark at noon. At first, people thought it was a storm. But storms do not move in perfect formation, and they do not make the ground vibrate like a living drum. High above the clouds, shadows slid across the surface of the earth. Massive shapes blocked the sunlight, their outlines sharp and alien. They were not clouds. They were ships. The alien fleet had arrived. Each ship was larger than a city block, with metal skin that glowed faintly like burning coal. Strange patterns pulsed along their hulls, sending signals only they could understand. The ships moved, slowly like predators that knew their prey could not escape. In space, they formed a perfect ring around the planet. From every angle, north, south, east, west, Earth was surrounded. On the streets below, panic spread like wildfire. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. People pointed at the sky, some screaming, some praying. News channels played the same footage again and again. The alien ships, descending silently, like giants made of steel. Governments tried to send messages. "We mean no harm," they said. "We are willing to talk." But the aliens did not reply. Not a single word came back. Inside one of the alien flagships, Commander Thalon watched the planet turn slowly beneath him. His pale, almost translucent skin shimmered under the cold lights of the control room. He was a soldier of the Vorthok Empire, and he had been told humans would be easy to conquer. He believed it. Shields at full strength, Thalon ordered, his voice calm. "Keep weapons armed, but hold fire. The humans will surrender soon enough." The crew obeyed without hesitation. Around him, alien officers moved with precision, their black eyes fixed on glowing displays. They had studied Earth for years. They knew the size of every city, the range of every weapon, and the weakness of every defense system. In their minds, victory was already theirs. Down on Earth, in a deep underground command bunker, the mood was very different. World leaders sat around a long table, their faces tense and pale. The air smelled of metal and fear. General Marcus Hale, head of Earth's Defense Council, stood at the far end. His voice was low but firm. "They've surrounded us completely," he said. "If they decide to fire, we won't be able to stop them." The president leaned forward. "And the evacuation plan?" Hale shook his head. "There's nowhere to go." Silence filled the room. Everyone knew what that meant. Above the planet, the alien fleet drifted slowly, like a noose tightening around a neck. In every major city, people watched the sky. Some cried, some held their children. Others stared in quiet disbelief, but in one corner of the alien flagship, a young communications officer noticed something strange. Her screen flickered with a faint reading, a pulse of energy coming from far behind their position. "Commander," she said, "I'm detecting movement. Outside our perimeter. Sector 9. It's very faint." Thalon did not look away from the planet. "Probably debris," he said. "Ignore it." "But sir, ignore it." The officer hesitated, then turned back to her station. The signal faded, and the alien fleet continued its slow orbit. Far away, beyond the red dust of Mars, something stirred in the darkness. Hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, shapes began to move. They were not alien. They were human in the void of space. The human ships were silent predators, painted black to blend with the stars. Their engines glowed dimly as they came to life, one by one. Inside each vessel, crews moved with quiet focus, strapping in, checking systems, preparing for what was to come. On the lead ship, Admiral Sarah Keaton watched a holographic projection of Earth. Around it, tiny red symbols marked the alien fleet's position. The aliens were facing inward, every weapon aimed at the planet. None of them faced the humans. Keaton's lips curled into the faintest smile. "They think we're trapped," she said to her crew. "They have no idea what's behind them." Back on Earth, the news channels showed nothing but fear. Reporters spoke in urgent voices, pointing to graphics of alien ships. One headline read, "Surrender inevitable." People in living rooms and cafes whispered about the end of the world. No one outside of the highest ranks of the military knew that. Something else was happening far beyond their skies. In the alien flagship, Commander Thalon finally gave his next order. Prepare the message to their leaders. Demand surrender. Yes. Commander Thalon turned to the wide viewport. From here, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds. A beautiful planet. A fragile planet. Soon, he thought, it will belong to us. But far in the darkness, Admiral Keaton was giving a very different order. Engines at full power. Keep the stealth field active. On my mark, we move. Her voice was calm, almost cold. In the quiet hum of the human flagship, every crew member understood what this meant. For months they had been hiding, training, waiting. Now the time had come. The aliens thought they were the hunters. They did not know they were being hunted. The countdown began. 10 seconds, 9, 8. Back on the alien flagship, the communications officer saw another faint pulse on her screen. Her eyes widened. "Commander, there it is again." Thalon's voice was sharp. "I said ignore it." She swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." The countdown reached 3, 2, 1. In the darkness beyond Mars, the human fleet moved. Engines flared. Metal wings unfolded. The ships formed a deadly arrowhead, pointed directly at the rear of the alien fleet. Earth was surrounded. But the aliens didn't know. They were the ones in danger now, deep beneath the streets of Geneva, hidden inside a bunker carved into solid rock. The world's most powerful leaders gathered. The room was wide but low, lit only by the pale, the blue glow of digital maps covering the walls. Red dots circled the planet, every alien ship in orbit. The air felt heavy, not from the weight of stone above them, but from the knowledge of what was outside. General Marcus Hale stood at the head of the table, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes that seemed carved from steel. He had served in 3 wars, but this was different. This wasn't a battle for territory. This was a battle for survival. "We have confirmed," Hale began, his voice low but steady, "that the alien fleet has fully encircled Earth. All known escape routes are blocked. No civilian or military ship can pass without being destroyed." Murmurs filled the room. A few leaders looked down at their hands. Others kept their eyes fixed on the glowing map. "They haven't fired yet," said the Prime Minister of Canada. "No," Hale replied, "but they don't have to. Their position alone is a threat. They're forcing us to surrender before." The first shot, the President of the United States leaned forward, fingers steepled. "And what if we don't surrender?" Hale's gaze sharpened. "Then they will destroy our defenses. And if they want, our cities." Silence followed, heavy and cold, but not everyone in the room was afraid. In the corner sat a woman with short dark hair and a calm expression. Admiral Sarah Keaton had arrived only hours earlier, flown in under the cover of night. She wore no medals, no ribbons, only the black uniform of the United Earth Fleet. "We still have an option." Keaton said quietly. Every head turned toward her. Hale gave a small nod. Admiral Keaton has been in charge of our special project. The president's eyes narrowed. Special project. Keaton rose to her feet. She touched a control panel on the table, and the map on the wall changed. The red dots of the alien fleet remained in orbit around Earth. But now a new cluster of green dots appeared far beyond the alien ring. These are our ships, Keaton explained. 36 of the fastest, most heavily armed vessels ever built by humans, constructed in secret over the last 2 years. The leaders exchanged startled glances. They were hidden in the asteroid belt, Keaton continued, disguised as mining stations. The aliens don't know they exist. And now, the French president asked. Keaton's voice was calm, but her words carried steel. Now they're moving. Directly behind the alien fleet. Gasps filled the room. You're saying, the German chancellor began, slowly, that we have ships in position to attack. I'm saying, Keaton replied, that the aliens think we are helpless. They think they're the hunters. But in a few hours, they will learn they are the prey. A ripple of hope moved through the bunker. Still, the president frowned. Admiral, what's the risk? Keaton met his gaze without hesitation. The risk is everything. If they detect us too early, they will turn and destroy the fleet. If we succeed, we break their formation, and Earth survives. The president leaned back, thinking. Then he said quietly, do it. Far above, in the black void beyond Mars, the hidden human fleet closed in. Inside the lead ship, the UES Valiant crew members worked in near silence. Engineers checked weapons systems, pilots studied flight paths, and communications officers whispered to each other through headsets. The ship's bridge was a hive of controlled urgency. Captain Elias Ward, second in command under Keaton, stood beside the navigation console. We're closing to attack range, he reported. Keaton nodded. Maintain stealth field. No emissions. They must not see us coming. From the viewport, the alien fleet was now visible as distant silhouettes against the stars, massive slow-moving shapes with glimmers of blue and red light. They were so focused on Earth, their engines faced outward, exposed and vulnerable. Ward glanced at Keaton. They still don't know we're here. They won't, Keaton said, until it's far too late. Back in the bunker, General Hale updated the leaders. Our satellites confirm the aliens haven't changed formation. They're still facing Earth. The Prime Minister of India allowed herself a small smile. Then they have no idea what's coming. But Hale raised a hand. Don't celebrate yet. Timing is everything. If the fleet strikes too early, we lose the element of surprise. If we wait too long, they might fire first. Keaton's voice came over the secure line from the Valiant. All ships are in position. Standing by for the order. Hale looked at the president. The room was silent. The president closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. Admiral, proceed. The command reached the Valiant instantly. Keaton turned to her crew. All ships prepare to engage. Engines hummed to life. Weapon systems powered up. The green dots on the tactical display began to move in perfect unison. For the humans on board, the moment was almost surreal. For months they had hidden in the dark, pretending to be nothing more than drifting debris. Now they were about to strike the most advanced alien fleet humanity had ever seen. On one of the smaller ships, a young gunner whispered to herself, for Earth. Back on the alien flagship, Commander Thalen finally received word from his scouts. "Sir," said the communications officer, "there's something unusual in Sector 9. Multiple heat signatures, closing fast." Thalen frowned. "Sector 9 is behind us." "Who would?" The deck shook violently. A voice shouted, "Impact on the rear shield. Damage to starboard engines." Another explosion ripped through the alien flagship. Alarms screamed. Thalen's eyes widened. "Who's attacking us?" But by then, the human fleet was already in motion, and the battle for Earth had truly begun. The alien flagship's command deck was a picture of chaos. Red warning lights flashed across every wall. Smoke drifted through the air, mixing with the sharp metallic scent of burnt circuitry. Commander Thalen gripped the arm of his command chair, forcing himself to stay calm as the deck shuddered again. "Report," he barked. A young officer with dark, glassy eyes spoke quickly. "Rear shield is gone. Starboard engine is disabled. We've lost contact with the 3rd and 5th ships in the formation." Thalen's mind raced. "Who is attacking us?" The communications officer, her voice trembling, replied, "Unknown vessels. Human design." The words hit Thalen harder than the explosions. Humans. They were supposed to be trapped on their planet, weak and unprepared. "How many?" he demanded. "Dozens, sir. Fast, heavily armed, and..." Behind us, Thalen's claws tapped against the armrest. The humans were not only fighting back, they had outflanked the Vorthok Empire's finest fleet. He turned toward his tactical display, and for the first time, saw the pattern. The human ships were attacking in coordinated waves, striking the rear engines and command centers first. Every hit crippled an alien vessel before it could even turn. To fight, on the far side of the formation, the U.S. Valiant swept in like a shadow. Admiral Keaton stood tall on the bridge, eyes fixed on her target, the alien cruiser directly in their path. "Fire all forward weapons," she ordered. Blue-white beams of energy cut through the darkness, slamming into the cruiser's hull. The explosion lit up the void like a sunrise in space. Inside the alien flagship, panic spread. "Commander," shouted another officer, "our rear formation is collapsing." "The humans are..." The sentence was cut short by another violent impact. Jaw tightened. "Turn the fleet around. All ships face the enemy." The helmsman hesitated. "Sir, if we turn, our weapons will no longer aim at the planet." "Do it," Thalen roared. One by one, the alien warships began to rotate, their massive frames groaning as they shifted position. But every second they took to turn was another second the human fleet tore through their ranks. In the Valiant, Captain Ward grinned at the sight of alien confusion. "They're turning, Admiral. They didn't expect this." "That's because they underestimated us," Keaton said flatly. "Keep hitting their engines. Don't give them a chance to regroup." Far below, in the skies over Earth, something unexpected happened. As the alien ships turned away from the planet to face the human fleet, their defensive line broke. Gaps opened in the ring of warships, and through those gaps, Earth's ground-based missile systems finally had a target. From hidden silos across continents, massive rockets streaked upward, their trails cutting bright lines through the atmosphere. The alien flagship's sensors blared. "Commander, we're being targeted from..." The planet Thalen's claws tightened. They had faced many species before, but never one that struck from both sides at once. The humans were not panicked prey, they were predators. Back on the Valiant, Keaton's voice was steady but urgent. "They're vulnerable. Order all ships to press forward. Target command vessels first. Cut the head off the snake, the human. Fleet moved like a living thing, darting between alien warships, firing at weak points, then vanishing into the dark dot. Another alien battleship erupted in flames, spinning helplessly into the void. Thalan's second in command approached, his tone grim. "Commander, if this continues, we will lose the fleet." Thalan's cold eyes narrowed. "Then we must break them now. Focus all fire on their largest ship, sir. That will expose us to do it." The alien flagship's weapons charged, power surging through its colossal frame. Bright arcs of energy gathered at its forward cannons. On the Valiant, warning alarms screamed. "They're targeting us," Ward reported. Keaton didn't flinch. "Bring up full shields. Divert all power to the forward arrays." The alien flagship unleashed its first volley, a massive spear of burning plasma that tore through the void. Toward the Valiant brace. Keaton shouted. The impact shook. The human ship, from bow to stern, consoles sparked. Crew members were thrown to the floor, shields down to 40%. A tactical officer reported, but Keaton's voice remained calm. "Fire back." The Valiant's main guns roared. Bright bursts of kinetic rounds and concentrated energy slammed into the alien flagship's bridge section. On Thalan's deck, the floor erupted with fire. Several officers were thrown from their stations. "Commander, our bridge armor is failing." Thalan's voice dropped to a growl. "Signal the fleet, fall back toward the outer orbit. We cannot fight them like this." For the first time in the battle, the alien ships began to retreat, firing wildly as they pulled away from Earth. But every retreating vessel left its back exposed, and the human fleet did not hesitate to take advantage. Explosions lit the dark like stars being born. The alien fleet, once a perfect ring of power, was now a scattering of burning wrecks and fleeing survivors in the bunker on Earth. General Hale watched the live feed, his jaw set. "They're breaking. The plan is working." The president leaned forward, almost in disbelief. "You mean we're winning?" Hale's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "Yes, sir, we're winning." But up in space, Keaton wasn't celebrating yet. Her eyes stayed locked on the alien flagship as it limped away. "They'll be back," she said quietly, "and next time they won't underestimate us." Ward glanced at her. "Then we'll be ready." Keaton gave a single nod. "Yes, we will." As the alien fleet disappeared into the black earth rotated slowly below, its blue oceans and green lands untouched. For now, the humans had turned the hunters into the hunted. But in the silence of space, both sides knew this was only the beginning. The darkness beyond Mars had been silent for months. To anyone looking, it was just empty space, scattered rocks, lifeless moons, and cold shadows. But hidden there, painted black to vanish against the void, floated humanity's last hope. 36 warships, each unlike anything the planet had ever built before. They were long and narrow, with armored hulls designed to absorb and deflect energy fire. Their engines were quiet but powerful, capable of sprinting faster than any alien had ever seen. The humans had named them after predators: Valiant, Hunter; Black Fang, Iron Hawk, not just for intimidation, but as a promise. Inside the UES Valiant, Admiral Sarah Keaton stood in the center of the bridge. Her uniform was plain, her voice calm, but the air around her seemed electric. Every crew member felt it. This was the moment they had trained for. Status of all ships. Keaton asked. Captain Ward replied instantly. Fleet reports, ready. Weapons armed. Stealth field at maximum. Keaton's eyes moved to the tactical display. Red icons, the alien fleet, still orbited Earth in a perfect circle. They had shifted position slightly, some turning toward the humans after the earlier skirmish, but the formation was still tight. They're distracted, Keaton said. We hit them now. The order rippled through the fleet. On the Hunter, gunners gripped their controls, targeting systems, locking onto enemy vessels. On the Iron Hawk, engineers fed extra power to the thrusters, the ship's frame humming under the strain. On the Black Fang, pilots adjusted their approach vectors, setting up high-speed attack runs docked from a distance. The human fleet still looked like drifting space debris, but then, like a pack of wolves breaking from the trees, they began to move. Keaton's voice was steady as she gave the next order. All ships, formation Delta, engines at full burn, weapons free. Engines flared to life, spilling blue light into the black. The fleet surged forward, closing the gap between Mars and Earth in minutes. The alien ships ahead were still turning, trying to adjust to the unexpected attack, but they were too slow. The first human salvo came from Hunter and Black Fang. Missiles streaked forward, vanishing into the dark, then reappearing in bursts of white fire as they slammed into alien engines. Two enemy cruisers spun out of control, colliding with smaller escort ships. The aliens finally reacted, weapons lighting up the void, but their aim was scattered. They were firing at shadows. The human fleet's stealth systems made them hard to track. Keaton saw her chance. Valiant, target the flagship's escorts. Take their shields down. The Valiant's forward batteries roared. Beams of concentrated energy lanced across the gap, punching through the armor of an alien escort ship. Its shield collapsed in a burst of static, and seconds later, it was gone, consumed by fire. Escort destroyed. Ward confirmed. But the aliens were adapting. Thalan's voice echoed through his bridge. All ships, focus on the largest human vessels. Surround them. The alien fleet split into groups, trying to box in the humans. It was a dangerous move. It meant breaking formation further, leaving even more gaps for Earth's ground weapons to exploit. And Earth did, from silos hidden in forests, deserts, and even under the ocean. Missiles launched toward the thinning alien ring. Some were intercepted, but many found their mark. Alien hulls cracked open, spilling fire and debris into the void. Inside the Valiant, Keaton's crew moved with deadly precision. 3 more enemy vessels down, Ward reported. No damage to our ships so far. Good, Keaton said. Keep pushing them back. We want them off the planet's throat. On the Iron Hawk, Captain Reyes laughed as her ship cut through the rear of an alien squadron, blasting engines before diving away. They can't touch us, she said. We're too fast. But speed alone wouldn't win the fight. Keaton knew the alien flagship was still dangerous, its weapons powerful. Enough to cripple any human ship with a single hit. Target the flagship, Keaton ordered. If we take it down, the rest will scatter. The fleet shifted focus. Missiles and energy fire hammered at the flagship's rear armor. Shields flickered, weakened, but didn't break. On Thalan's bridge, the crew fought to keep the systems online, shields at 60%. Evasive maneuvers failing. They're too fast. Thalan's black eyes narrowed. We hold this line. Fire everything. The flagship's cannons unleashed a wall of plasma, forcing several human ships to scatter. One, the Silver Spear, took a direct hit, spinning out of formation in a trail of fire. Keaton's jaw tightened. Recover the spear's crew, if possible. Everyone else, hit them harder. The humans pressed in, coordinated strikes tearing into the flagship's flanks. Finally, with a thunderous crack, its rear shields collapsed. Ward's voice was fierce. "Shields are down, Admiral." "Then finish it," Keaton said. The Valiant's main gun fired once more, a beam so bright it lit the decks in white. The shot punched straight through the flagship's midsection. On Thalan's bridge, consoles exploded. The commander was thrown to the floor as flames engulfed the walls. He shouted one last order: "Retreat," before the view outside dissolved into chaos. The alien fleet broke. Some ships fled immediately, jumping into hyperspace without formation. Others tried to cover the retreat, but the humans tore through them without mercy. In less than an hour, the sky above Earth was clear. Only drifting wreckage remained. Keaton stood on the Valiant's bridge, her voice calm but her eyes sharp. "Signal all ships. Status report, and get me a link to command on Earth." Ward allowed himself a grin. "You think they'll believe what we've just done?" Keaton glanced at the stars where the aliens had vanished. "They'll believe it," she said. "And so will the ones who ran. Because for the first time in history, humans had gone into space not just to survive, but to win." Space was no longer silent. It was alive with fire, light, and thunder that no air could carry. The human fleet cut through the alien formation like a blade, each ship moving with speed and purpose. Missiles traced long arcs of silver light before blooming into white-hot explosions. Energy beams stabbed through the dark, leaving after-images in the eyes of every pilot. Admiral Keaton stood in the center of the UES Valiant's bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. "Keep pressure on their rear flank," she ordered. "Don't give them time to recover." On the alien flagship, Commander Thalan's voice was a deep growl. "They're destroying us ship by ship. Bring forward all reserves. Seal the gaps." Alien warships tried to swing into defensive positions, but the humans were already inside their lines. The Hunter dived between two cruisers, launching a pair of torpedoes into each. The ships exploded seconds apart, spinning into drifting. Burning wreckage dot from the Iron Hawk. Captain Reyes reported 2 more kills. Requesting permission to pursue. Denied, Keaton replied at once. "Stay in the formation. We finished the flagship first." The first coordinated strike began. 5 human warships moved into an attack pattern around the alien flagship. They came in from different angles, above, below, and both flanks, making it impossible for the alien gunners to target them all at once. "Fire on my mark," Keaton said. Her voice cut through the noise of battle. 1, 2, mark. Dozens of weapons lit up at the same instant. The combined barrage slammed into the flagship's side, collapsing its secondary shields in a storm of sparks and shattered armor plating. But the aliens were not going down quietly. "Target their largest ship," Thalan shouted. The alien flagships. Forward cannons roared, sending a stream of molten plasma directly toward the Valiant. "Incoming," Ward shouted. The deck shook violently as the plasma grazed the Valiant's port side. Metal screamed, alarms blared, and several consoles exploded in showers of sparks. "Port armor down to 30%, a damage officer reported. Keaton didn't flinch. "Stay on target. We don't stop until that flagship is dead." From Earth's surface, the battle looked like a storm of stars. People in cities, deserts, and mountaintops looked up at streaks of light across the night sky. They didn't know the details, only that humans were fighting back and winning. News channels showed shaky footage of alien ships breaking apart, their flaming remains falling into Earth's atmosphere like meteors. In homes and shelters, people whispered the same words. "We're not helpless anymore, in orbit." The Valiant's next strike was ready. Ward called out, main cannon charged. "Fire," Keaton said. The beam shot forward, cutting a burning path straight through the alien flagship's upper decks. Explosions ripped along its spine, venting fire and debris into space. Talon's command deck filled with smoke. "Seal the breaches," he roared. But his officers were already shouting, "Shields at 15%. Multiple fires across the midsection. We've lost engine control." The humans saw their chance. "Hunter, Blackfang, Ironhawk, concentrate all fire on the flagship's bridge," Keaton ordered. The 3 warships obeyed, unleashing a storm of missiles and energy bursts. Alien counterfire hit the Black Fang, but its armor held. The alien flagship's bridge erupted in flames. The main viewport shattered outward, venting atmosphere and crew into the void. Talon's last command was almost a whisper: "Retreat." The remaining alien ships broke formation, jumping into hyperspace one by one. Some didn't make it. Human missiles caught them before their drives could fully engage. Others fled blindly, scattering into the black. Within minutes, the sky above Earth was empty except for drifting wreckage. The human fleet held position. Keaton surveyed the battlefield in silence. Dozens of alien hulks floated in low orbit, some still burning. Earth's surface was untouched. "Status?" she asked. Ward scanned his display. "Minimal damage to most ships. Valiant needs repairs, but nothing critical. We lost the Silver Spear and 23 crew." A silence fell over the bridge. Keaton closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. "We honor them later. Right now, we secure the planet." Messages began to flood in from Earth, from military leaders, from civilians, from people simply shouting their gratitude into the comm channels. One voice came from the underground bunker in Geneva. "This is General Hale. Admiral, you've done it. You've saved us." Keaton's reply was simple: "No, we've shown them what happens when they try to corner humanity." But as the cheers spread across Earth, Keaton's gaze turned back, toward the empty stars. She knew the retreat wasn't the end. The aliens would regroup. They would come back with more ships, more weapons, and no illusions about human weakness. When they did, she would be waiting. "Signaled the fleet," she said. "Begin recovery operations, and send scouts beyond Mars. I want to know where they've gone." Ward smiled faintly. "Hunting them already." Keaton's lips curved just enough to be called a smile. "They called themselves hunters. Let's see how they like being prey." The battle was over, but the war was not. Wreckage drifted in Earth's orbit like silent ghosts, twisted metal, shattered hulls, and fragments of alien craft glowing faintly from internal fires that refused to die. The human fleet moved carefully among the debris, engines running low to conserve fuel. Searchlights swept over the darkness, picking out escape pods, cargo containers, and the bodies of those who hadn't survived. On the UES Valiant, Admiral Keaton stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships report in," she ordered. Ward read the responses as they came through. 34 vessels operational. Silver Spear confirmed destroyed. Minimal casualties on other ships. Enemy vessels, 0 remaining in orbit. All survivors have retreated. Keaton didn't relax. And the flagship? In the underground command bunker, General Marcus Hale stared at the large wall display. It showed the orbital map. Green icons for human ships, scattered among the grey markers for wreckage. The red icons, the alien fleet, were gone. The President stood beside him. General, it feels like a miracle. Hale shook his head. Not a miracle. A plan, years of work, and a fleet they never saw coming. The President glanced toward the terminal. We need to speak to Keaton. Minutes later, the Valiant's main screen lit up with Hale's face. Admiral, Hale said, Earth owes you more than we can ever repay. Keaton's expression was steady. We held them off, General, but they'll regroup. This was a victory, not the end of the war. Hale nodded grimly. Do you think they'll come back? They've never lost to a species like us before, Keaton said. They won't accept it. Next time, they'll bring more ships, and they'll target our fleet first. In the alien retreat, far beyond the edge of the solar system, Commander Thalon's surviving officers gathered on a smaller command vessel. The fleet was broken, half destroyed, the rest scattered across different systems. One officer dared to speak. We underestimated them. Another growled, they are primitives. They got lucky. But Thalon, his left arm in a sealed medical brace, said nothing. Luck had nothing to do with it. Humans had fought with precision, coordination, and a level of cunning that rivaled the Vorthok Empire itself. Finally, Thalon spoke. Send word to the High Council. We will rebuild. And when we return, we will burn their skies. Back on the Valiant Keaton listened to damage reports from her captains. The Iron Hawk had lost 2 crew members. The Black Fang's engine arrays were badly scorched. Several smaller ships had sustained heavy armor damage, but all were still flight-worthy. Begin. Repairs, Keaton ordered. Resupply from Earth depots. And I want constant patrols around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. If they try to slip back in, we'll know. Ward hesitated. You think they'll try soon? They're predators, Keaton said. Predators. Hate losing their prey. Yes, they'll try. The turning point wasn't just in the battle. It was in how humanity saw itself. For centuries, humans had looked up at the stars with curiosity and a little fear. Now they looked up with something new, defiance. In schools, children spoke about becoming starship pilots. In factories, workers volunteered to help build more warships. In governments, leaders agreed on one thing for the first time in history. The United Earth Fleet had to grow. Keaton stood by the viewport, looking down at Earth. From here, the planet looked peaceful. Clouds swirled over blue oceans and green continents. It was beautiful and fragile. Ward joined her. You know, he said, the fleet's already talking about you. Some are calling you the Iron Admiral. Keaton's mouth curved in the faintest of smiles. I'm just doing my job. Sure, Ward said. But you've changed something. We all feel it. This isn't just defense anymore. We're going to take the fight to them, aren't we? Keaton didn't answer right away. Her gaze stayed on the stars. Finally, she said, when they come back, I don't want to be sitting here waiting. I want to be out there, already on their trail. In the darkness of deep space, human scout ships moved quietly, scanning the void for any trace of the retreating aliens. One pilot reported a faint energy signature leading toward the outer rim. Keaton listened carefully, her mind already mapping possible enemy regroup points. The war wasn't over, but humanity had crossed a line. They had shown they could strike, win, and survive against a superior enemy, and now there was no going back. General Hale's final message to Keaton that night was simple. You've given us more than a victory. You've given us a future. Now let's make sure it lasts. Keaton's reply was just as simple. Then we'd better start building. The warships of the United Earth Fleet drifted slowly back toward home. Their engines glowed faintly against the black, moving through the scattered wreckage of the greatest battle humanity had ever fought. Every vessel bore scars, scorched hulls, patched armor, broken plating, but they were still flying on the UES Valiant. Admiral Sarah Keaton stood at the viewport, her hands clasped behind her back. The planet filled half the view, turning slowly in the dark. Blue oceans shimmered, white clouds curled over green countenance. It looked untouched. It looked safe. It wasn't. On the bridge, Captain Ward approached quietly. Earth Command is asking for a public transmission, he said. They want you to speak. Keaton shook her head. That's not my job. They don't need to see me. They need to see the fleet. Ward smiled faintly. You just saved the planet, Admiral. That is the fleet. Keaton didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the stars beyond Earth. Down on the surface, the streets were alive with celebration. People filled the plazas, waving flags, singing, shouting. Children held makeshift cardboard ships, painted black like the ones that had saved them. In every city, huge screens replayed the battle footage. Alien ships burning, human warships darting like wolves among them. The voice of a news anchor carried across the airwaves, against all odds. The United Earth Fleet has defeated the alien armada that threatened our planet. For the first time in history, Earth has not only survived, but triumphed. But in the underground command bunker, the mood was different. General Marcus Hale stood over a table covered in holographic projections of the solar system. Green dots marked the fleet. Grey dots marked wreckage. Far beyond, faint red signals blinked scouts tracking the retreating alien ships. They're regrouping, Hale said quietly to the president. They'll be back. The president nodded grimly. How long? Hale shrugged. Weeks. Months, if we're lucky. Then we use that time, the president said. We rebuild, we train, we make sure next time we're not just ready, we're waiting. On the Valiant, the crew worked tirelessly. Engineers sealed hull breaches. Technicians replaced damaged weapon arrays. Medics moved from ship to ship, treating burns, fractures, and shrapnel wounds in the mess hall. Tired voices traded stories of the battleships they'd destroyed, near misses they'd survived, friends they'd lost. No one spoke in grand speeches. They didn't need to. They all knew what they'd done. In her quarters, Keaton read the casualty reports. Each name was a weight. She memorized them, not because she had to, but because she refused to let them become statistics. Ward knocked lightly at the door. You should get some rest, he said. Later, Keaton replied. He hesitated. You know, you could step back now. Let someone else take the lead. You've done your part. Keaton looked up at him, her eyes sharp. This was just one battle. The war hasn't even started. Beyond the asteroid belt, in the cold dark between stars, the remnants of the alien fleet gathered. The largest surviving vessel, a heavy carrier, acted as their temporary command. Inside, Commander Thalon stood before a star map of the Sol system. His wounds were healed, but his pride was not. An officer spoke quietly. High Command demands an explanation. Thalon's jaw tightened. They'll have it. And they'll have my promise. We will not underestimate them again. We will return with 10 times the force, and we will grind their world into dust. Another officer shifted uneasily. And if they're ready for us, Thalon's black eyes glinted, then we'll tear their readiness apart piece by piece. Days passed. The human fleet completed its slow return to Earth orbit. From there, they descended one by one, greeted by cheering crowds at every landing site. Factories across the planet began operating around the clock, producing more weapons, more ships, more defenses. For the first time, nations pooled resources. Without hesitation, the fear of annihilation had done what centuries of politics could not. It had united humanity. Keaton finally agreed to one public appearance. Standing on the Valiant's deck, broadcast live to the world, she spoke simply. This was not the end. It was the beginning. We will not wait for the next fleet to arrive. We will find them. We will meet them. And we will remind them. Humanity is never prey. The crowd roared. Later that night, Keaton stood alone at the viewport again. Ward joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. Thinking about the next move, he asked. Always, Keaton said. Ward handed her a cup. Where do we start? Keaton's eyes stayed on the distant stars. Out there, somewhere between their space and ours. That's where this war will be decided. In the silence of the dark beyond the solar system, alien beacons pulsed calls for reinforcements. Warnings of the humans' unexpected strength. In the same darkness, human scout ships moved quietly, following those signals. The game had changed. Earth was no longer a planet hiding under the shadow of greater powers. It was a world that had struck back, and it had teeth. And in the stillness, between battles, both sides prepared for the next strike.